Advertising is everywhere. In what you read, what you watch, what you eat, what you wear. They're in the sky, they're on the ground, they're in the water. Our economy thrives on you buying more and more and more, even though you don't need any more. And, oh yeah, you're in debt. The goal of advertising is simple. Get you to buy a product, to make you say, yes, I want this, I need this, my life will be better with this retro cowbell dispenser, but a mason jar too. That is adorable. This is the mug that won't fall over. Watch this. It fell. We wanted to learn how advertisers capture our attention and get us to buy stuff we don't even really need. So we turned to Jonas Sachs, an advertising executive and co-founder of Free Range Studios, to explain a few ways brands get into our heads. How do ads tell us who we are, or tell us who we should be?
We see 3,500 of them a day. And the majority of them basically tell us you suck, and if you don't buy this product, you're not going to be rich enough, smart enough, hot enough. And so we walk around being told 3,500 times a day how deficient and lame we are.
Are there any ads that have stuck out in your mind?
The number one most shared advertisement on YouTube of all time is that Dove Real Beauty Sketches ad. They make the Real Beauty Sketches. It's all about how women are so much more beautiful than they think they are through this stunt with a police artist who's sketching them.
Tell me about your hair.
They make a picture of what they think they look like versus what a stranger thinks.
Kind of have a fat, rounder face.
People are saying, listen, they're reaching hundreds of millions of people with a positive message about beauty. People want to share it because they say, oh, those are my values, that's my idea. And then you start buying the soap because you share those values.
Baby, you don't know what it's like to love somebody.
So this is one of those classic shop therapy ads. That, parenthood is hard, drinking Coke is easy. You need to speak to people on the level of identity, you need to speak to people on the level of emotion. There are millions of people who are gonna sit there and be like, yeah, that's my truth, that's it, it's totally me. Thanks, Coke.
Why use Beckham?
Advertisements tell you not that this product does this thing, it's that people like this use this product. If you want to be like these kind of people, use this product and you're instantly one of them. So, we all want heroes in our lives and we want to know how to be more like those heroes. And, watching sports and watching movies that these guys are in, we don't necessarily know how to be more like them, but advertisements tell us how to be.
Are you up for whatever? Don't answer. Grab a Bud Light and show it. Try new things. Make new friends.
It's all just crafted around creating a gap. You don't have enough, you don't have what's right. It's not necessarily even that the audiences are sitting at home and saying, oh man, I need to spend more time in the club. It's like they're saying everybody else is in the club and why aren't you there?
So advertising is just a constant fear of missing out.
There's a huge amount of that.
Wow, advertisers are like crappy friends. They make us feel needy, ugly, and uncool, but we keep them around anyway. This is a beautiful moment. Sure could use a Coke.
So again, here we go. Here are the Christian Singles Connect links for those that are brand new. We encourage you to go out and join our YouTube page. If you have not joined that already, I'm about to throw it in the chat. Go right now, and click that link and hit subscribe because you're going to want to see this video later along with all the other videos that we do. If you want to, you can look up, find some of my videos, but you don't have to follow me because this is Christian Singles Connect we're talking about today. If you want to follow us on Instagram, you can, I'll admit mine has a little bit more on Instagram than CS Connect, but we are trying to work that out. And we do have somebody we're talking to right now about taking that over. So pretty soon it will probably be much different. Okay, so the message temperature. So what are we going to be talking about today? So actually, believe it or not, a lot of the stuff that's going to happen today is going to come from the word. As crazy as it sounds, it's going to come from the word. I'm even surprised by that myself. I would think this one would have been more mental. But I find that this one actually is not. But it does have a decent amount of emotion in it. Why do I do this message temperature? This is for all the new people. The reason why is because sometimes we do kind of vacillate around depending upon what we're trying to teach you. So I'm trying to make sure that you understand where the information is coming from so that you can have a better way to absorb the data and or reject the data. You don't have to absorb anything that you do not want to. We're here to help, but if you feel like your Christian walk is taking you down another path, then that is more than fine. I have no problem with you tuning certain things out. So let's get started. Okay, here's the whole thing, guys. We love danger. We love it. Okay. Humans flirt with, with lots and lots of dangerous things. Skydiving, we swim with sharks. We have all these things that we love to do, right? Even though if you skydive, technically there is a possibility that that parachute won't open. And if that parachute doesn't open, it's not going to be good for you. You're going to be pretty much flat as a pancake on the ground, and it's not going to be good for you. But why do people do it? Why do they take the chance? Putting their whole life, their entire life in danger, but they do it because they love to flirt with dangerous things, right? So, and as we do higher and higher levels of adrenaline, we basically want something even more exciting on the other side. So it's kind of like this addiction to adrenaline. However, adventure and the concept of adventure or the concept of danger is actually individually based. All right. So while we might see somebody as skydiving as being the ultimate in a dangerous activity, that's not necessarily true, because for some people, just going to a new restaurant can actually be adventurous. They don't like to do the same restaurant over and over again. They want to always try new things, while other ones want to do things like be on Instagram and petting lions, tigers, and cheetahs. And we've all kind of seen people do this stuff. So it's out there, right? It's absolutely out there. But here's the problem, okay? The problem is that we have to watch ourselves because we can get way too comfortable. We can think that these dangers are not dangerous at all, and we can take them for granted. So as we flirt with danger, we actually relax ourselves, right? And the dangerous thing doesn't seem dangerous anymore. We feel like we've conquered that danger. We feel like we're better than this. Oh, this is never going to hurt me. Oh, there have been thousands of people who have jumped out of planes, and when was the last time one of them died? Right? But I always tell people the safest time to ever be, jumping out of a plane is really once somebody has actually died. Because statistically speaking, as soon as they have gone through that, they are basically going to be in a much better situation, and people are going to not take it for granted. That's when they're going to be the safest and triple and double and checking everything. But when nobody's died in 2 years, then that's when we're kind of up for somebody to die, right? So one of the things that's really interesting, and I thought this was kind of funny, and we all kind of know about what happened with Siegfried and Roy, I think, a couple of years back, right? So if you don't know, they were performing on stage and something went wrong. One of the tigers got spooked, and you're talking about 300-400-pound animal, which has a heck of a lot of power. And some people think he was biting Roy. Some people think he was saving Roy. But no matter what the situation was, Roy ended up hurt really, really bad. Okay. And this other little drawing over here, where you see the tiger jumping up the wall, this happened again at a zoo. And what happened was some people were picking at this tiger, and basically the tiger got mad and got out of the pen. Right? See, people thought that the tiger couldn't get out. But it was really the tiger saying, why do I need to get out? I'm good. Y'all are feeding me. I know I can beat all you humans. So I'm just going to kind of sit in here and chill. And what happened was some people that kind of picked on the tiger and all this other kind of stuff. And it actually shows in and what happened was the tiger went directly after 3 people. And it passed by all this lower end prey, and that's kind of what they're saying here. It says, it's interesting to note that a tiger expert who investigated the scene said, after a kill, I find it interesting a tiger would leave a kill to go after something else unless there was a compelling reason. The tiger passed exhibits with warthogs, which it ignored, and followed the quote unquote blood trail of the two brothers to the Terrace Cafe outside in the dining area. So basically, the tiger bypassed food in order to get to these people that some people believe were pestering the tiger, right? And these other quick, quotes that I wanted to kind of point out, which was really interesting, is that according to to National Geographic, at least the one in the UK, say what's up to all my people in Great Britain. They say there's no way to guarantee that your pet, the pet that you have in your house, your dog, your cat, won't eat you after you die. Okay, even hamsters and birds have been known to scavenge on occasion. So the little puppy dog that you've raised, the cat that you've raised, they will eat you. They still have the ability to eat you. Okay, and then we all know what happened with right after Siegfried and Roy. Chris Rock had a famous quote that said, because everybody was saying, "Oh man, that tiger went crazy. That tiger went crazy," and Chris Rock was like, "No, that tiger didn't go crazy. That tiger went tiger." Because we got to understand that tigers see us as food. We're not their friends. We're food. Okay, if we were in the wild, okay, the tiger would quickly go after older people, children, and I kind of hate to say it, women. If you can't move quick, you gone. In fact, there was a really funny movie a long time ago. I forgot what movie it was, but these people were out in the wilderness, and they were talking about bears and bears chasing them. And the guy was like, one guy said to another, he was like, "Man, I'm not worried about the bear." And the guy was like, "Why? Why ain't you worried about the bear?" He was like, "All I got to do, to get away from the bears, run faster than you." Saying that as soon as the bear catches one of them, the bear gonna stop. So he was like, "I'm faster than you, so I ain't worried about it." So that is a very real thing. But see, the problem is we flirt with danger. We think we have control. And you have to kind of get this. You have to understand this. Even though we as humans were put over everything, we were put over everything in the world. God said, "You're over everything. You're over everything." But that does not mean you flirt with it. Okay? That does not mean you flirt with it. Right? But here's the thing about us as humans. We love that danger. And I've constantly tried to tell you guys this a lot of times. So because I think y'all don't listen to me sometimes, I brought up these two article things. These are just, quick screenshots, and this is not really saying much of anything. All this is just two writing sites, two sites where, they're writing. People are writers. And what they're trying to do is figure out how to creatively write a mysterious man, a dangerous man, a man of mystery. And they're trying to figure out, okay, how do we introduce him properly? And in this particular article in the back, there was actually lots of people that commented and were giving other writers trying to say, "Oh, well, I would do it this way. I would do it this way." And the reason why I'm bringing you guys this and telling you this is, like I've told you all before, if you're watching a movie and you have a leading man, I don't care if it's Leonardo DiCaprio, I don't care if it's Denzel Washington, you might put all of this energy on that leading man and or woman in a situation, and you might say, "Oh, they're so romantic. They're so smooth. They're so this, they're so that." But the truth is, they're not these things. There's a team of writers. There are directors, there are producers, there are lighting people, there are camera people. There's about 10 to 15 people sitting behind the scenes that you don't even know that's trying to make Leonardo DiCaprio seem as though he is the coolest man alive. And I wanted you all to see it with your own eyes, that this exists. This is not me blowing smoke. This is real. Okay? And the reason why you have to see it as real, because in reality, what's going on and what you're told is going on is two totally different things. Remember, when you go through life, life is all about advertisement, right? Okay, so it's all up in here, all up in what we learned from this quick video. See, you're being advertised to in every single way. Every single movie that you have watched is basically advertisement. They're selling you something. I was going to pull up the Publix commercial because I love this new Publix commercial. Some of you might have seen it. But basically, what happens in the commercial is there's a little girl, she's about 7 years old, and she gets a gift. It starts off with her getting a gift. And she gets a gift, and she says, "Thanks, Chris." And the man says, "Okay, I just hope you like it, Grace." And then as she basically gets older and older and older throughout the commercial, in this 30-second commercial. And then finally at the end of the commercial, she's getting married and she's sitting there waiting to get married. And then Chris, who's a little older now, walks in and he's like, "Wow, you look stunning. You're like, Grace, you just look so stunning." And then she turns to him and she's like, "Thanks, Dad." Okay, so what they sold you on in this moment is this feeling of acceptance. But one of the things that is done on purpose, but you might have not paid attention to, is even the names of the characters that get said over and over and over again. The girl's name is Grace. That is mentioned over and over and over and over. And then the dad's name is Chris. Almost like you're saying Christian. See, none of these things are just, "Ooh, wow, they made a mistake. Ooh, it happened." No, no, no. There are writers in a room that are trying to figure this out. How can we make the biggest impact on these people, even in 30 seconds? All right. So the reason why am I telling you this? Why am I telling you this? Because when you look at the Bible and you start talking about these mysterious men, these men that are all that in a bag of chips, and we've been talking about this a lot, right? So I brought this up. A lot of people have heard this already, but and I'll paraphrase it over here because I'm trying to get to the point. So if you go to Proverbs 7:6-23, that's where this information is. Now I have changed it for women in this particular moment, but it's written for men, but you can really do it the same way. So it says, "A handsome man approached her, looking good but sly of heart. He was the relaxed, unworking type, never wanting to do anything but laugh and have sex. He grinned wildly and said, 'You're gorgeous. I've got a pocket full of money and you're the one I was looking for.'" Excuse me. "And he smelled like myrrh, aloes, and cinnamon. And he offered to buy her a drink. He seduced her with his pretty speech and flattery. She followed him at once. She was like a mouse caught in a trap, suffocating and waiting to be thrown away. She never knew spending time with him would cost her her life." And I've said this a couple of times, but I really, really, really want people to get this, because writers are selling you a bill of goods. The Bible is selling you reality. Okay? A bill of goods, reality. We have to understand it. This is not to say that every guy that has, that speaks well and, can flirt with women, very easily, that is not to say that, he's a bad guy. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that you have to be careful with people who are very good with their words, but they're not good with anything else. You have to watch somebody's actions. But what do we want to how do we take this into our everyday lives? Okay, well, the thing about this is, as we start to get these writers writing, and as we start to see these pictures, and as we start to see these commercials, and as we start to see these movies, what happens is your brain starts to want things, and it wants what it sees. Okay? So what you might not quite understand is that you might not be in fully control of your mind. You might think you are, but you might not be fully in control. One of the things that I think was really interesting, as Dubai started to get more money, they actually paid Hollywood, okay, to be in their movies. So when you see Fast and the Furious, when you start to see 007, all these people start to go to Dubai. Everybody was filming in Dubai. For a long period of time, everything was being shot in Dubai. Now, Dubai is a desert. And what was interesting was right after all these movies came out, Americans started saying, I want to go to Dubai. I want to go to Dubai. Why do you want to go to Dubai? Because you've seen it in the movies. Dubai is a desert. Every single person I know that has gone said you can't even go out in the middle of the day. It's so hot. You can only go out at night. And most people say it's pretty empty. It's like nobody there. You know, but why do you want to go? You want to go because you've seen it. Times Square in New York City is nothing. It is basically this big open area full of advertisements. That's all it is. You're literally paying to go to a place that is just full of advertisements. But why do people want to see it? Because it's in the movies. Over and over again, it's in the movies. And that's why you want to go. And we say, oh, well, I'm in full control of my mind. Are you really? Why do you buy Nike over Reebok? Why is McDonald's still in business if a lot of people would say things like, oh, I love the burgers from Five Guys? Yet McDonald's makes more money than Five Guys. Why do, women bend over backwards to go to Victoria's Secret? Or secretly want $300 rib bottoms? Why? Why do we want Coach bags? Why do we want all these things? Okay, do you don't think the advertisement does anything on that? The very clothes that you wear, the very school that you went to, your university, the cars that you drive. Okay, the average person, needs to see all these things, but look at how much money. I don't know if some of you all can see this. I'll say a few things. It says the United States digital ad spending. This is just a digital ad spending by industry. Retail is $35.4 billion. Financial services is $23.5 billion. Consumer products, $22.5 billion. Telecom, $17.2 billion. Do you think these companies are stupid? I still run into people right now, they're fighting me over an iPhone, swearing their iPhone is better than my Android, and looking down on me because I have an Android while they have an iPhone. Who gives a flip? It's a phone. But they will fight tooth and nail over a doggone phone. People fight over their universities. People fight over shoes. We've even seen things on was it Black Friday when people are going into Walmart or wherever it is to buy TVs and they're fighting over this stuff. They even had a fight over Nutella, the little peanut butter spread stuff. Wow, you're willing to go to jail over sweet peanut butter. Wow. Okay. So here's the thing, right? So we all have wants, and we need to understand that we have wants. Okay, there's nothing wrong with having wants. But here, and even what does the Bible say about our wants? It says a healthy spirit conquers adversity, but what can you do when the spirit is crushed? And what this spirit means is, it means that the spirit wants something. It's going after something, right? So we want something, and then when we can't get it, it causes depression. It causes us to be crushed, right? Okay, so that's really what that is saying. That's what that means. But we also have to see all of the other things that Proverbs is warning us about. It says, only simpletons believe everything they're told. So if somebody says, oh, this brand of water is the best water, really? I just thought it was water. Okay. It also says the wise are cautious and avoid danger, but fools plunge ahead with reckless confidence. Simpletons are clothed with foolishness, but the prudent are crowned with knowledge. See, I've always told people when you read Proverbs, you should read it from the point of the bad person. So in this particular case, the simpleton. Right? So I have to read this and say, I believe everything I'm told, but these other people, these smarter people, they think about their steps. While these other people are cautious and avoid danger, I plunge ahead with reckless confidence. I can be clothed with foolishness. I can think all these stupid things, but there are people out there that are smart and they take their time and they're crowned with knowledge. So one of the tricks that I always encourage people to do is when you read Proverbs, read it from the point of view that it's you being the bad person. Because a lot of us, unfortunately, are just a little too arrogant and we're a little too prideful and we think we're above this. And I guarantee you, you're not above this. Each and every last one of us has fallen into this trap probably multiple times. So we need to see it from the perspective of a person that is kind of not doing this the right way. But here's the key element I want you all to take from this. There's a path before each person that seems right, but it'll end in death. See, when the path starts, for those that can see the graphics, I have a little path thing, and it has like two arrows down two paths, and both of them are very green and lush and pure. But one of these paths is going to lead to this zombie apocalypse that you see at the bottom. One of these paths is going there. And see, what we think is, oh, it's so green and lush. It's so nice. Either one of these will be fine. But what God is saying is, no, there's a path before each person that seems right, but it ends in death. See, it seems right because when you get on that path, it's lush. Okay, it don't start off looking like apocalypse. It starts off looking good. Otherwise, you would never go down that path. It will be an easy breezy follow. But you have to recognize it's always going to start off looking good, right? So let's move into therapy. So we've gotten some background. So let's move into therapy, right? So what does therapy really mean? What do we need to understand? So this is the Google. Y'all know I grab from Google a lot because I want y'all to know that I am, getting real information and I'm not, full of crap. So therapy is the treatment of mental conditions by verbal communication and or interaction. So what happens during a therapy session? Well, the answer is each session is essentially a problem-solving session. You will describe your current situation, your feelings about it, and then your therapist uses their expertise to assist you in trying to resolve that problem so that you can move closer to having the life you wish to have. All right, so I'm gonna say that again. You describe what's going on, how you feel about it, your feelings, we're talking about feelings, and then the therapist helps you so that you can resolve the problem so that you can move closer to the life that you wish to have. Okay, so those words are very important. Hope you picked up what I'm putting down. So who needs therapy? All right, because that's important too. We don't just need to know what it is, we need to know who needs it. So most people these days would agree that therapy is useful treatment for anyone who has a major problem. If your friend was struggling with depression, anxiety, or PTSD, you would encourage them to talk to a therapist. But for many, the idea of going to therapy yourself doesn't occur unless a significant or sudden life issue arises. For example, a family death or an ending marriage. So basically what we're talking about is, why do people go to therapy? Because they've experienced trauma. Trauma, therapy. Trauma, therapy. I'm going through something painful. I'm going through something that my emotions are caught up. I'm hurt in some way. So now I need to go to somebody that I can sit down with them, express myself, express the pain in my heart, and then hopefully they can help me to move closer to getting back on track so that I can have a great life, right? But here's the problem that Christians are making, right? This is the problem that we're making, because I want to bring us back up here, right? The wants. We need to remember the wants, our wants, our wants. Okay, what's going on with our wants? And we have to remember what God is saying. There's a zombie apocalypse down one of these paths. God is saying there's a zombie apocalypse. Now I'm telling you, it's a zombie apocalypse. So y'all got to be careful. All right, so here's the thing you need to remember and you need to understand now, and this is where the confusion comes in. Ephesians 6:12. This is Paul. We don't fight against flesh and blood enemies, but against evil rulers, authorities of the unseen world, against mighty powers in this dark world, and against evil spirits in the heavenly places, i.e., devils and demons who watch your move, your every move, and tempt you based off of your desires. Okay, so they're basically right now devils and demons assigned to each and every last one of us, and they got their computer out, their laptop, and they're taking notes. And they're like, Mr. Tim, you know, he likes this type of thing. And this is the type of woman he likes. And this is the type of situation he likes. And oh, yeah, I got somebody for him. Right? And then they're looking over there, and then they're seeing Natalie, and then they're like, oh, yeah, Natalie likes this. And she likes a man that does this. And blah, 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 blah. And we have to remember and understand these things exist. And I'll tell y'all something really interesting, which was kind of funny to me. After I became a Christian, I'll probably say maybe about I think it was a little bit older than that, maybe about 7 years ago. I literally, somebody told me, I really thought devils didn't exist. I didn't. I was like, I think God exists. I think Jesus came. I think all of these things, but I was not convinced that devils existed. I thought that when the Bible was talking about the devil, that it really meant the evil, because it's something, why is evil in the middle of devil? So I was like, it's the evil. It's the evil within us. We're fighting the evil within us. And then the devil messed around, or one of his little minions messed around and did something that was so specifically outside of me that I was like, what? And it was like, I'm just there minding my own business, doing my own thing. And then it's like, all of a sudden you come into my little world and then you just poke at me. And I was like, okay, something else exists. Because angels don't do this and God doesn't do this. So something else out here exists that is bothering me for no good reason. Okay, and at that point, both of my fists came up and I was like, okay, yeah, this stuff exists. This is real. And the thing I would tell you all is that you really kind of have to understand that, yes, even if you don't see these things, they are making move after move after move. It is a big chess match for your spirit. And it is going on all the time. Okay? So I want you to get that part. Then the next part is going back to Proverbs 18, which is a healthy spirit conquers adversity. But what do you do when your spirit is crushed? We talked about that earlier. So the confusion in these two is that we want one path, but God encourages us to go down another. So God is saying, go to the left, or go to the right, and then we want to go to the left. God is saying, go to the right. And we like, God, nah, I ain't feeling that way. I kind of, the left, my friends are down here, parties down here, money is down here, all this good fun stuff's down here. I kind of want to go left. All right. And this is where we kind of go around in circles. But see, if we recognize that the zombie apocalypse is on the left, we would take the right. But we got to remember there is a zombie apocalypse down the left. If you're not going where God wants you to go, there is a zombie apocalypse. It might be 10 miles down that road, but it's coming. All right. So what happens is our desires end up jailing us, end up catching us, ends up putting us in shackles. And it happens slowly. Okay. When you sin, when you go down these paths, it doesn't come on you immediately. It's like a thread. You know, it's like one thread loops around your ankle. And then you see that little thread and you snap your leg really quick and that thread just pops away. But what happens is one thread gets on you one day, and then the next day another thread gets on you. And before you know it, you've got 100 threads on you. And now when you move your leg or you move yourself, it doesn't snap anymore. It's gone from a thread to a rope. And then if you continue down that path, for some reason, that rope starts to turn into steel. Right? So when Proverbs is saying they never knew that spending time with them would cost them their life, one of the things is we have to understand what life means. I think one of the problems is when people read that passage, they're thinking, oh, ain't nobody going to shoot me dead. Ain't nobody going to slit my throat. And nobody's going to stab me. But see, most of these evil things, they don't want you physically dead. Why would they want that? They want billboards of failure to walk through the earth. They want billboards that are saying, yes, if all these people tried and failed, all these people, because misery loves company. And so if all these people are miserable, then they're going to even encourage more people to be miserable. Right? So these spiritual forces are setting traps for us all the time. And every single time we fall into one of these traps, we're losing pieces of our life. So the concept of life here isn't about dying a human death. It's not about, oh, our body is dead. No. They do not want that. They want you to live in pain. They want you to live in frustration. They want you to live in anger. All right? They do not want you to enjoy what living on the earth actually means. Okay? But then we look at what Jesus said. What does Jesus say? He's talking about them. He's talking about these bad spiritual forces. He says, the thief comes but to steal and to kill and to destroy. But I am coming. I, Jesus, am coming that you will learn to live life and that you will have it in the most abundant way you can. So what Jesus is trying to tell you is that all of these spiritual forces are out here to hurt you. You think you're going down these right paths, but I'm telling you, it's the zombie apocalypse. So get off that path. And that's why he's constantly saying, I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life. He's saying, come down my path. Come over here to my path. Get off that path. And he's even saying, I'm willing to put 99 of you over here on this path, tell y'all to not move. And then I will go into the bad path where you are and free you and bring you back to the path. Okay, so Jesus is willing to do that. But he's not going to bring people to the right path unless they want to. But what we have to understand is many of us are on these paths. Many of us have gone down these paths. And when you're in the zombie apocalypse and you're going through that, okay, that is bringing about pain. Okay? So here we go. Here's two paths. So we have our adventurous path and we have our godly safe path. And we all know how this starts. It starts generally in our 20s, and we're like, I want to go have fun. I don't want to do this godly, boring crap. So if you go down this godly path, you're like, okay, God, you're so boring, you're so blank, and I'll go over here to this boringness, and nothing's happening, and my spouse is boring, and my children are boring, and all this other kind of stuff, right? And then over time, though, especially as you start to get into your 30s, you start to appreciate it. You're like, it's not that bad. I know a lot of people who have gotten a lot of problems, and not hitting these problems. My life is pretty good. And then through that, it brings about joy. But what happens when you go down this other path? Well, we say, oh, this is going to be adventurous. And I'm not saying it's wrong to have adventures, guys. This is not me going against people who want to travel or people who want to zip line. That's not the point I'm trying to make here. But the concept is you make bad choices because you think it's adventurous. That is the thing, that you think is going to be more exciting. And so you think the adventure, and it's all green. That's why these are color coded. So it's all green and all happy. And then you're having fun. And these people over here, godly people. And you're like, y'all ain't having no fun. It's boring going to church. We over here having fun. Right? And so then the fun starts to slowly go to danger. There's dangerous things happening around you. And it's not necessarily dangerous like cutting you or shooting you or, stabbing you or cutting off an arm or an eye. But it's just, things are, starting to go down different paths over here. And then while the Christians are starting to learn to appreciate because they stayed on the right path, you're starting to get a little bit worried, but you kind of hang out. You don't jump ship. You kind of, well, maybe it'll get better. It was fun before, maybe it'll get better. And then it changes really quickly. Something happens and it goes to pain. And so now it's painful. It's emotionally painful. It could be physically painful. It's kind of like, you meet a guy, for the ladies. Oh, he's great. He's fun. He does this. He does that. Maybe he's a millionaire. He's flying you all around the world. You're having all this fun. But, now you're 4 or 5 years in and you're like, man, I would love to be married and all this other kind of stuff. But he's like, why you want to get married? We're having fun. What are you talking about? Blah, 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 blah. Right? And so then, he leaves you, after all of this, and then he's leaving you high and dry. You don't have a penny, because you could have been working and building a career or something like that. You don't really have friends because you've been flying around with him. So now you come back to the States and you really don't have friends. You don't really have money. You don't really have anything. You got to go back and live with your mom. So now you're full of pain. And so now what do you do to get rid of the pain? You go to therapy. Right? Okay, so that's how that works. So for those that have watched, this particular show on Ready to Love, it was really interesting watching this show this particular season, because when this guy first showed up, everybody, all the women were like, oh man, he's so smooth. Oh, he talks so well. He's so awesome, blah, blah, blah. By the end of the show, they was hating on him. Left and right hating on him. But see, the whole thing was they should have known better. These are grown women. These women right here, they like late 30s, early 40s. They still falling for the same BS they was falling for in their teens. And as the Bible says, as a dog returns to the vomit, a fool returns to their folly. The Bible says, don't talk to these people. Don't give them any credit. The Bible says it over and over again. Over and over again. Don't talk to these people. Don't talk to these people. Don't talk to these people. But see, people don't want somebody who's boring. They don't want anybody to act like their brother or their daddy. They want somebody to sweep them off their feet. Right? Okay, so here's the whole thing. When you go down the wrong path, pain comes with that. God is trying to protect you from this. He doesn't want you to ever go into the zombie apocalypse. But see, we see the green trees and all this other kind of stuff. And we're like, God, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what you're talking about. But God is like, no, I'm telling you, down the road, 2 miles down the road, is a zombie apocalypse. No, God, it's green. It's right there in front of me. It's green. It's green. It's right there in front of me, God. Helen, you marking on my screen, by the way, boo. And Helen marking all on my screen. But because I don't know how to turn that off. But that's the thing. We think it's green because we see it as green. But the whole thing about it is God is saying, no, don't do that. That's why we think it's boring. That's why we think being a Christian is boring. Because God is trying to get you away from dangers that will kill you. Right? And so pain comes from going down the wrong path. Lack of understanding goes from going down the wrong path. But guess what? The world, and this is why we watch everything on advertisement, the world makes money on you. They're making money on you. One of my biggest problems with most dating coaches, for those that have been around for a long period of time, know that a lot of them do not want to solve your problem. They just want you to buy their book. Because they could have solved your problem a long time ago. But they don't want that. Because that's how they make their money. Okay? They make their money by selling you a book. And then if they can sell you 10 books, they make even more money. So they don't really care. But the wrong path leads to frustration and emotional distress. All right? So we need to understand God's word and that it is good and profitable for us. All right? And I'm going to be real with you guys. Proverbs is something everybody should know. And if you're confused about some of the meanings, you should talk it out with people and or with your church and or with CSC. Because a lot of Proverbs is really trying to help you not be, silly in your actions. Okay, so what is the original theme of what we were talking about today? Do you need therapy? You need therapy because you're in pain. You're in pain because you went down the wrong path. Okay, so what do you really need? You need to think differently. You need to recognize that this path that you're on that will lead you to a place of therapy is a bad one, which is basically you need to be reprogrammed so that you will know that that bad path leads to problems, that this bad path is going to lead you to the zombie apocalypse, right? So here's just some quick things that I just wanted, some misconceptions that I just wanted to talk about for 2 seconds. And this is not necessarily godly or whatever, but I'm just trying to get these misconceptions out because a lot of times as we have these misconceptions, it helps to lead us down one place or the other. So for women, social confidence is not business or financial confidence. We're constantly talking about this over and over and over again, and I can't believe how many times I've had to go over this. But, I just guess, again, women are listening to 4,000, 10,000 ads, plus a lot of movies, and I'm constantly saying that movies, television are playing into all of these things. And so what happens is if a man is not socially confident, then women just don't want to talk to him. And that's not true. Business and financial confidence is two totally different things. I try to point people out like myself, like Zuckerberg. Zuckerberg is a multi-billionaire. But he's like the biggest nerd. I mean, there are lots of men who are financially successful, who are great in front of crowds, who are all this in a bag of chips, but they don't necessarily have social confidence. And half of the men I know who have a lot of social confidence are really not the best people. Now, I'm not saying all of them, but many of them are not necessarily the best people. All right. Another thing women need to understand is men don't only think about sex. This is one of those things that is constantly pushed in media that men only think about sex. That is not true at all. In fact, I actually truly believe that women think about sex more than men. I just think that women wrap it up under the guise of romance. That is just my personal belief. But Jenny doesn't agree with me because she's giving me the face. So that's fine. I can only see 5 people. Okay. Women need to understand men have feelings and deep ones, right? A lot of women act like men don't have feelings. I honestly believe, again, that men who cover their feelings up actually have stronger feelings than the average woman. It is almost as though we're trying to protect you from our feelings because we know how dangerous they are. And I'm trying to use myself as an example. When I get angry, okay, I am strong. I am a man. I can literally punch through a wall. Women need to understand that. Okay, I can punch through a wall. The average man can do that. So if you are in his face, if you are trying to get more emotion out of him because you're feeling emotion and you think, oh, well, he doesn't have feelings, so I have to dive deep. He is protecting you, boo. Because trust me, if you see, when men get angry, they hit things, they throw things. And a man can break a woman, literally. Okay, so men are trying to protect you from their emotions many times. And it's hard to do that in the midst of an argument, but women need to understand that men have feelings. And if the man loves you, then, oh, you matter. And what you say matters. And it cuts him like a knife. Forget that. It cuts him like an axe. And you're swinging an axe and you don't know the damage that you're doing. Right? Men get rejected all the time. Okay, so women need to understand that. Even pretty men get rejected. Okay, here's something for men. Many women, I want to say most, but there'll always be that one woman to say, I don't know if you can say that, Jay. Blah, blah. So many women love sex. Why am I saying this on a Christian channel? Because a lot of men have this mind concept because they started when they were young and all these movies and all these shows that are like, women are just so innocent. They're just little rabbits and they're so scared. Man, please. We would not have all the babies in the world if women didn't like sex. Women love sex. Women love sex, like I said, a lot of times more than men do. Okay? Women can have multiple orgasms, like literally, like back to back to back to back. Like they can have 2 in one sitting and literally turn over to you in 15 minutes and start nudging you like, we're going to go again, right? Because I got a few more I want to get out tonight. And the dude is like, dang, I thought we was good. So you need to understand that that's a huge misconception, especially among Christian men. Most women won't hate you if you talk to them. A lot of us men, we can get, scared and a little confused. We think, oh, well, the woman wants to be left alone. So some women won't hate you if you talk to them. That's really important. Men are always acting like women are always emotional. That is not true. Many women are very logical. And even with that, they're not emotional all the time. So you need to understand that. And another thing is not all women want your money. Because guys, the thing we care about is money. Money. We just, money rules our world, right? And we just think all women are just after our money. And that, again, is not true. A lot of men need to understand that and be okay with that. And then a final quick thing before we start up is that you can define your own fun. I hate to beat up on the adventurous people. I hope they don't think I beat up on them today. That was not the point. The point is that there's 2 paths. One is dangerous and one is not. You need to check with the Bible on which one is and which one is not, and on wisdom. So that is it. I am done my presentation. And thank you, Jenny, for the claps. And who wants to speak first before I call on you? Because y'all know I will.
AJ had a question in the chat. And it was actually a pretty question probably to get the conversation started about the path. Her question was, suppose I'm on the wrong path with someone. it's bad, it's horrible, it's painful. How do I know that it wasn't part of the path to bring the other person to the right one or to change the path of both of us? That was her question. I think that would be maybe a good starter. AJ, if you wanted to elaborate, I just want to just make sure that your question was
Yeah,
answered.
sure. I mean, I don't know the dynamics of the relationships I've been in because I'm a disabled veteran with PTSD and I date other veterans with PTSD as well because it's just we understand the military way and it's different than civilians, I believe. Most of us believe. And so I was on a great path with someone for about a year and then things started he relapsed into drug addiction, and then I kind of got on a path with him, and then I was trying to pull him out because I know he was capable of so much more. I knew him. We did not meet in an addiction atmosphere or anything like that. So I knew the good that he was capable of and his past, and so how do I know I wasn't put there to help him and bring him off that wrong path?
Well, I think your situation is a little bit different because of the military background. And again, thank you for your service, by the way. But I think that that's a little bit different because that's a path that if it's PTSD due to the military, then you got there because of the military. So I don't see that as a bad thing. I don't see that as a non-godly thing. I see that unfortunately is something that happened, because of the situation. But it's a little bit different than somebody saying, "Hey, I am going to start smoking weed, or I'm going to start, let's say, doing crack, tomorrow." Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think in your situation, it is a little bit different. But I will say that God can meet us anywhere. And that was the point that I was trying to make, saying that, no matter what path we're on, and Jesus is he gave an example of this, but I do think everything God does is not just a basic example. It's also something saying about his nature. So I do believe that God will come and Jesus will come wherever you are, and he will give you that opportunity to rejoin, the flock. So I think God is with you, that Jesus is with you, on that. But I don't worry about bringing you back to the right path. I think, God can meet you anywhere. But I do think what you're saying is slightly different, just simply because of what you have experienced. Tashawn, did you want to say something on that one?
Hey, AJ. So, um, we have a similar story, except that I didn't get out soon enough. So, and what you're saying echoes exactly how I felt. So some people that have been around a while know, but my late husband, who did not pass from drugs, did have a drug problem, and that is exactly what my thinking was. I believed that God brought us together he gave me this man gave me what I needed, and I was there to give him what he needed. He was there for me, and so I was choosing to be there for him, and I believe that God, had me there. And there was a point, however, where I believe that God released me. And because of the fact that I had this bond, like what you're talking about with the PTSD, I felt like I would be betraying him if I left him. And I could see how much better his life could be if he would just make this different choice. And he wasn't getting high all the time. It would be like 8 months and he wouldn't do anything. And then he would, binge, and then he'd be fine for months. And so it wasn't where it was. So you could just, like the breadcrumbs of seeing the promise, like this is gonna, it can get better. But what I learned, or one of the things, because I learned a lot of things, but one of the things that I learned was that we're not as resilient as we think. Sometimes we're so close to God that we feel like I can be this sacrifice. I can, prostrate myself, Lord. If this is what you want, and if this person needs this and this is going to save their life, I can do that. And God is
You
like,
are saying my thoughts exactly.
and God showed me in the word, because I didn't grow up in church, so I didn't know scripture at all. I just had my relationship with him. But one of the first things I learned in church was that over and over again, you hear about the famine in the land and how God tells them, store up for yourself. Don't give it all out. So I realized in what I was going through at the time that you have to hold something back for yourself so you can continue to be a blessing, and be a vessel for God, not so that this one can be saved, but so that you can be able to be a vessel ongoing for God's purpose. Sorry, I just realized I wasn't plugged in. And so you have to sometimes make decisions that seem harsh, but you don't want to out mercy God. You don't want to, because sometimes you are the thing that makes them feel like, I ain't that bad. I got AJ, so I'm not that bad. Look at them, they out there. If I was so bad, then I would be, nobody would want me and stuff like that. And if you have to kind of have the faith that you do the part that God gave you to do, and you trust him to do the rest. And if he brought you, he'll bring others. And that if he felt this life was worth saving or touching, then it's not all dependent on you. It's dependent on God. And you just have to believe in that. And anytime you feel that weight of being pulled back in, you pray, God, please touch them, please turn their heart, please keep them from doing it. But you can't stop them. It even got to the point where my late husband would make it my fault, like if you were this or you were that, then I wouldn't do it. And it's like, I don't do any of this. I'm going through this hell sober. And so if I can abstain, then surely you can. But at the same token, we're all different people. And so so I just, like I said, I heard the same feelings and thoughts that I had back in that time frame. And I mean, it's amazing to be chosen to have that kind of a heart, but you don't want to allow yourself to be damaged to the point where you can't be what God needs you to be in other people's lives. So you accept that, what, maybe I'm not supposed to be in a relationship with these people. Maybe I'm just supposed to, impart and then move on, or maybe I'm just supposed to be a friend. And sometimes you're supposed to be a friend in this season, and then when they get to their next season, then it may blossom into something else. But that's kind of listening and connecting with God to be able to be led in, okay, God, you've introduced me to this person, whatever the circumstance, what is it that I'm supposed to get and what am I supposed to give?
Got it. Thank you very much. Well, I did leave, and that's why I live with my mom and her cats now. So
Yeah, we just gotta be careful not to, go back to the same thing. It's hard because when we're strong, weak people find us. And nobody's invincible. Everybody has a breaking point.
Absolutely. Now that you say that, Tashawn, I want to bring up Lovely's question, even though I think it was more just a quick comment. But I think that kind of is in alignment with what you just, talked about, sometimes when, we're at our weakest. But, she was like, why are we always trying to fix some grown man? And so I think that might be something that Jenny's like, heck no. Margaret looking like, I don't know, I might be willing to fix him. She got her hair done and stuff like that. And Tina just looking like I don't know, she got pray on the wall, so she'll be, just gonna pray for him or whatever. But Patty has her hand up, and Patty's the, like I said, she keep talking. We might have to make her organizer. But come on, Patty, talk to me.
I just wanted to make a quick comment. Fixing people and pleasing people, it's a form of codependency. So you have to be very careful with that, because toxic people will create on purpose situations where you have to keep fixing them, and you will feel guilty if you decide not to, or if you will want to leave. So be very, very careful with that. Especially somebody mentioned they were in a narcissistic relationship. That's what narcissists do. So be very careful. And also, I'm going to mention, just keep an open mind. I wouldn't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but it's also considered to some degree a form of manipulation for codependent people. Because if I'm fixing you and you are doing what I want you to do, it will please me. And that's what codependent people do. Just a side note. Thank you.
No, I love it. I love it. That was good. And I think Portia is saying something similar, because she's saying codependency and trauma bonding is easy to fall into if we spiritualize dating, marital relationships. And I think that's a big thing. And I think we do need to consider these things, all these different ways that we can counter So go ahead, Patty.
Can I add something? And also, people who are codependent, it's a form of validation for them when they try to fix somebody or please somebody or do something for that person. And as of course, it's a nice gesture when you are doing things for somebody you are trying to help. But at the same time, in a way, it makes another person feel obligated that they have to do something in return for you. So it becomes like a vicious cycle. You are helping somebody and you think you are being a good person, which you are to some degree, but then it makes another person feel obligated, and they are obligated to do something in return for you, which this is not necessarily what they want or would want to do, but because you put them in such a situation, it could be received like that. So I wanted to say, I'm not trying to say that you ladies, by fixing somebody or trying to help them, is a bad thing. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just trying to say that sometimes fixing people, when it goes too far, can be just as destructive for you and for them as well.
I can agree with that. And I think it works same thing for men. I think if men try to fix some broken women, it can work the same way. Come on, Mr. Tim, you got your hand up.
Yeah, I almost wasn't going to bring this up, because I have to be careful. I don't want to be misunderstood. This is what happened to me. So somebody could do the same thing and it might be fine and it might work out great. But I was thinking, I could not help thinking about the two different paths. I mean, I feel like, man, I got wrapped into something many, many years ago that I'm over it now. It's the past. It's 1,000 tons of water under the bridge by now. But, I do believe that trust in the Lord in all your ways, all his ways. And it talks about, not leaning on your own understanding, but acknowledge him and he will direct your path. So I was in my 20s. I was very lonely and frustrated. I tried to meet people in church. That didn't work out. Tried to do things socials. That didn't work out. And finally, I got very impatient. I said, well, I'm not doing it God's way anymore, because this ain't working. I'm sorry, God, but I'm just getting older and this is ridiculous. I'm not doing it. So I was seeing a counselor, therapist, secular therapist, by the way, which is nothing wrong with that in a sense. But he said, I know about this dating service and it's really good. This is before computer dating. I really think you need to just go out and get involved in this dating service. I said, I don't know about that. He said, well, you don't want to go to bars and nightclubs, do you? But, this is a professional dating service. People are looking for high quality, good people they want to spend the rest of their lives with. Yes, it's going to cost you money, but this is the best direction. So I said, let me think about it. So I went home and I prayed about it, and God said no. And I said, well, or what do you want me to do? Just sit around and rot? And then I got an argument with God, and I got mad. God said no. So I said, well, let me think about it. Prayed about it. God said no. Well, I went ahead and did it anyway, because the quote psychiatrist said, this is good for you. So make a longer story short, this whole dating service thing turned out to be nothing but a meat market. So everybody was out to have a good time. Nobody was serious about a relationship. It was all sex and everything. And finally, I had to get out of the dating service. Now, there might be many dating services that are not like that, but this is just my story. So I'm not trying to push this on anyone. But I ended up spinning a mile around. I was a mess. I was emotionally torn up. I thought, oh my God, forget it. I was mad at women. I was mad at myself. And it was my fault too, because I should have seen it coming. But anyway, I picked the wrong path. I got out of it, and I almost had to rededicate my life to Christ because I was doing it in the flesh. I said, I'm going to do this, Lord. I don't care what you think. But when God said no, he knew what was going to happen. And I was just young. I mean, it's in my 20s. But I learned from that, like, wow. So now I've gone back to the old ways. I go to church. I try to go to socials. But I really like to go to Christian organizations and socials. And I'll go to parties, but I try to figure out who's holding the party, where's the party, what's the party about, what kind. So I'm trying to be more aware and careful. But that's me. This is what happened to me. But boy, when you do select the wrong path, it's bad. Like you said, it was a mess, that dating service. So, and again, I'm not saying all dating services are bad, but this was bad. And I really crashed and burned big time. I've learned a lot from that. And I healed from it, and praise God, I got out of it. But when God says no, he means no. So take it with a grain of salt, but that's kind of my story.
No, I love it. And I appreciate that, Tim. Because I think that, like I said, I mean, sometimes God is telling you a path that might seem good, and he might be saying specifically that this path is bad. Like, I've definitely had at least 2 women that I've dated. In fact, it's really been more than that, but 2 women in particular that I dated, and these women were like deep in the church. I mean, they were heavy duty in the church. And, God kept telling me in my spirit, like, no, you cannot talk to these women. And even though everything seemed right to me, we got along really well, and all this other kind of stuff, God kind of stepped in. But we have to remember that God sees things that we just don't. And even though the Bible, and that's why, you got the 2 different things that you have to understand. You got the understanding of what the Bible is trying to tell you, the basic understanding of what God is trying to tell you through his word. And then you also have the Holy Spirit, which is talking to you continuously and might be trying to tell you, hey, this particular person is not going to work. But it can become confusing because that person's following the Bible, you're following the Bible, they love Jesus, you love Jesus, and you're like, well, why, God? Why isn't it not going to work? And I believe the reason why, at least what the Holy Spirit kind of showed me, is that there's just certain things about what you're trying to do and what she's trying to do that are just not going to go down the same road. And like one of the things that I've learned, and I've even had other people to talk this over my life, is that, whatever woman kind of ties herself to me, she's kind of tying herself to God at the same time. So if she's not willing almost to leave whatever she has going on, it's more than likely it's not going to work. Because I'm in a different situation now than even what I was 7 years ago. So those types of things God knows about you, Mr. Tim. He knows the path that you're on or the path that he wants you on. So whatever woman he puts you with, you might end up with a really great woman right in front of you, and she's great, she's doing literally everything that you want, but God might be like, she is going to move to Maine, and I need her to start a ministry over there, and that's what I have her, leaned up for. And with you, Mr. Tim, I need you to stay in Florida, and I need you to do X, Y, Z. And if you
good point.
marry that person, then now both of you are not on your path. So that's when I believe that the Holy Spirit steps in. But I think it's important to watch that and to listen to God. But I also want to make sure that the point is made from the presentation is that a lot of the times that the mistakes that we're making is more we're misaligning what the word says. Or we're not paying attention to what God has said about people, and that causes us pain or a situation. Does that make sense? And that's why I was saying I think we have to be open. And it was like the one thing that I do agree, there's a lot of stuff that we talk about, the church I go to all the time. But they have this one concept, and I kind of like this concept. If you take any idea that's in your mind, take it and run it through the Bible from the beginning to the end. And if it has not been removed or changed or whatever, then that whatever's left on the other side is what you need to pay attention to.
Hmm.
So why did I bring up, like, for instance, this whole concept of women and sex, right? The reason why I bring that up is there's no place in the Bible where it says women can't enjoy sex.
Hmm.
It's nowhere in there. But yet most Christians would have you believe that a woman is all supposed to be all sexual innocent. No, it doesn't say that. It just says that women shouldn't be on the street trying to holler at every man. They should go home and be with their husband. But it doesn't mean they can't enjoy great, awesome sex every single night, 5 times a night from their husband. And the reason why that's so important is because, see, these are those little nuggets that get in the back of our brain.
Hmm.
And then we start to judge the world by all these little nuggets when that's not what the Bible says. And again, like, even engagement rings, I'm about to call them Lakeisha, but engagement rings are another thing. Engagement rings did not exist until the diamond companies, the companies that control most of the diamonds, said we need to find a way to make more money.
Hmm.
So they actually hired Hollywood and actually said, okay, what I want you to do is every time a man in your movie asks a woman to marry him, I want you to give him have him to give her this ring, this engagement ring. And look at how it changed our society. Now, if you even go to a woman and ask her to marry you, you can't do it without an engagement ring. But an engagement ring does not exist in the Bible. You kind of get what I'm saying? And see, men will wait to marry a woman so they can buy her an engagement ring. So they'll put off proposing for 6 months to a year so they can raise up enough money to buy a nice engagement ring. While that is happening, the woman is being stressed out because she's ready to get married. But yet, that's not in the Bible. But it causes us trauma. Come on, Lakeisha.
Okay, Jay, that was a good point you made about the ring. I wouldn't even go there, but that was a very good point. You made a lot of good points in throughout your presentation. But I wanted to respond to AJ. AJ got us on the road today. The comment that she put in there about the codependency that she has with veterans and how she feels like like she's leaving somebody behind. I'm not ex-military, my father is, but I have a very close-knit family. And with that, when I saw that, that made me think of how I am with my siblings. I feel like, and especially ever since my mother passed about 12 years ago, ever since my mother passed, I'm the oldest girl to my family. So I've always felt like I have that responsibility to my siblings. And so, and it's just, and like I said, I have a very close-knit family. I watched my big mama take care of everybody. My aunts take care of everybody. My mama took care of everybody. So now I'm the oldest girl in my crew. So now I feel like that's my responsibility. But somebody told me, actually one of my spiritual leaders, she came to me probably about a year or so ago. She had called me just out of nowhere. No, it's nobody but God, because I was stressed out about something going on because there's always something. My family always come to me, except for my father. My father, it's funny that I say that, because my father, he was like, you need to leave. You need to let them kids grow up. And keep in mind, they ain't kids, they're grown. All of them grown. My dad, I do more for my siblings than my dad. My dad has better boundaries than I do. But for me, like I said, I've watched all the women in my family always take everybody on their shoulders, and I felt like that was what I was supposed to be doing. But this person came to me and they was like, you know what? They was like, what you're doing is you're becoming God in their life. And it was like, if you don't get out the way, they're not going to be able to see God for themselves, because they see you. They always come to you. And I was like, whoa. And so that right there helped me, honestly, AJ. So do not feel that you are, don't carry that burden, because you're not God. God did not he's not put us on this earth to carry other people's burdens. We're supposed to walk with them through things, but we're not supposed to carry it, right? So we have to remember that in order for them to see God, and sometimes we can be stepping in the way of somebody actually being able to see God, because as I thought about it, the times how I actually turned to God completely and stopped playing, lukewarm. I was lukewarm for a long time. I won't tell no lies. But how I decided to get off the pot and really put all my faith and my trust in God is when I was in the fire. Because it was when I was in the fire that, and I had nobody but God to turn to. That was when I was able to. I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna make it with nobody except for God. Not my daddy. I can't live up my mama prayers. No, I can't live up everybody else's prayers. I had to see God for myself. So when somebody came to me, I have released my siblings. Now, before I do anything, I stop and I pray. God, do you want me to do this? Because if it's not your will, then I don't need. If it's not His will, I don't need to be doing anything. So that's just the only
That
thing,
makes a
AJ.
lot
I
of
just want
sense.
you. Yeah, I just want you to remember that. Not saying not to help anybody. We'll never ever tell you not to help anybody. But another thing that I had to remember, even in relationships, is this is how I end up leaving the relationship, my past relationship. Is this relationship pulling me closer to God or away from God? If any way that relationship, any relationship, it could be with a female friends, you know what I'm saying, any type of platonic, but if the relationship is pulling you further away from God, then that's not His will. He's never going to give us anything that's going to pull Him away from us. It should be leading us to Him, right? And sometimes just remember that you may have to get out the way. You know how they say you may have to love somebody from a distance. Don't mean I don't love you, but I'm gonna have to love you for a distance so that they can actually see God and so that they can get that true relationship with Him. Because like Tashawn, that was perfect what you said, because I wrote that all down. We can't fix nobody. These ain't our children. These is His children, right? We can pray for them and do whatever, but we can't fix them. We can't. And we love them. And I felt that when you said it, because I thought about my siblings when I read it, and I was like, wow, and I so felt it. And especially growing up in a military family. I grew up military. I traveled my whole life. I was military. So I get what you're saying. Like, you do have that bond, right? And so you touched my heart when I said that. So that was all I wanted to say to you.
Thank you. That makes a lot of sense.
Okay. Go ahead, Tashawn.
I didn't realize I had muted myself. Thanks, Lakeisha. That was good. That helped me because, yeah, I mean, just like we can see where God has made a way in our lives. Sometimes we block that from other people. They need to be able to see, like, I don't know how I would have got through that if not for God, and if not for Lakeisha. So, but it's hard when you're a loving person. But I just wanted to, circle back. I think there was a lot of good content that was provided today, of the things that kind of affect us in our decision making. And I think one thing that basically tells us that we all need therapy, because we sometimes make decisions that we, even in the moment, we're like, why would I do that? And we're none of us are just like original sin. We start out our lives in circumstances, and some of them are great and things happen along the way, and some of them are bad, and by grace, we're saved from certain things. But our ability to cope with things, not having coping skills, or bad coping skills, not having certain people hurting us intentionally or even unintentionally. We have been through different things without any fault of our own. We didn't make the decision. We didn't choose the situation. We just survived it as a child. Or sometimes, people do things that they're doing out of their own hurt. And so it's our opportunity to say, okay, you know what? If I really believe in, and Jay was right on point with the word. I mean, there's scripture that talks about how basically you don't know everything. And so, I mean, even if you just think about ministry, what is ministry really? But you're ministering to the needs of the people, and everybody is a minister of some sort based on the gifts and talents that God puts in us. But that doesn't mean that you don't need to be ministered to. That's what the fellowship is about. And so if you are, whether you realize that, you're going through something or not, if you're making choices or decisions like Jay's talked about plenty of times, you're repeating the wrong things or you're picking the same wrong people or different things like that, then there's a cycle that needs to be broken. And sometimes because we're in it, we can't see it. And so you need an objective person to come in and point things out to you and make you realize that, you know what, these things that you felt like were foundational truths are actually not true. Or they don't have to be true. If you should decide to change, you can change. You don't have to do what you saw. You don't have to be who you were told to be. But it just sometimes is something that you get in a rut or a cycle on, and you need somebody else to come in and point things out to us. And there's nothing wrong or shameful about that. We can't avoid being hurt by circumstances, situations, and people. Even as grown people, there's people that do stuff all the time in our everyday lives that's just like, okay, what was that about? I mean, perfect strangers sometimes that will say or do something and they don't know you, but they, as Jay said, because of spirits, they say or do just the right thing. That's just the wrong moment for you. And you walk away and you walking with that because there is touched on something that happened when you was 2 years old. You know, you just don't know. But when you have things like that rise up, you realize, you know what? There's some things that I haven't dealt with. There's some things that are still difficult for me, or that cause me to make choices that used to protect me, but now are harmful to me. So it's something that I think that everybody should take advantage of at any point, even just to do a check-in. You don't have to go all the time or whatever. Or if you have, a pastor or a minister that is that person for you or someone else, but it needs to be somebody who can be objective and tell you about yourself and be honest with you and really point things out and not just co-sign on whatever you're saying, because that's not help. That's not going to benefit you. And so I was listening to what you were saying, Patty, and just thinking about my experience. And I mean, this long from then, because that was when I was in my 20s. And thankfully I have a perspective on it. And I know that for me, and I mentioned it a little bit, but I'll just say a little bit more. Once I knew that it was a bad path, as Joseph was saying, you look at the path and it looks great. I mean, he was doing things for me. He was smart. He was he was a football star. He was popular. Everybody thought he was amazing. And once I saw signs, I didn't even know about the drug thing, but once I saw that there were some signs, that I was like, and then I got raped. And literally, he was the only person that was there for me. My family wasn't there for me. My father wasn't returning my phone calls. The school, the police, he was the only person that held me together through that experience. And so because of that, I felt a bond of loyalty. Like, okay, I was used to people not being there for me. So for the first time, somebody was. And so then when he needed, I felt like I couldn't not be there because of how he showed up for me. So that's sometimes things are orchestrated in such a way that we go against our better judgment and what even God is sometimes telling us because of our experiences and our situations. And so you have to try to keep a good mind and stay in what God is saying and stay in his grace, because he does know what's down the road, and he does know that there's dangers ahead, and that it could take you out. And so I just wanted to share that. I think that everybody has been sharing some really good things today, so I appreciate that. Hey, Patty.
My turn?
Yes.
Okay. Well, first of all, I'm so sorry it happened to you. And, everything is a lesson. And whatever happens to us, I believe it makes us more of a person. And this is where we grow. I have experienced some awful things as well in life. And I try not to look at it as, oh my God, that happened to me, I'm a victim. And obviously it takes time to heal and understand that to get to that point. But at some point you will realize, I hope you healed by now, that's number one. You will realize that you are more of a deeper person. You understand a lot more. But the reason I raised my hand, because I wanted to share one lesson that I have learned from my cat. Not this cat that you guys see. I had another cat, and I think my other cat was extremely wise. But I think all animals have great intuition. And I allow all my animals to go outside. And the difference between people and animals is because if an animal is walking somewhere, whatever, if they can sense something is not right, they will stop, they will walk back. And that's what I've learned from my cat. He would run around, and as soon as he felt danger, he would stop and he would go away. And not only that, he would make me, in a funny way, he was trying to protect me. He would make me realize, don't go there. And sure enough, there was either a raccoon or another animal. Now, what we do is we fall in love, or we are not even in love. Let's forget about that. We meet a guy, we like him, and our gut is telling us something is not right. Something is not right. And God will show you different signs, many signs. And what do? Oh no, I like him. I'm going to test it. And but we don't test it for the negative. We test it, oh, maybe I was wrong. So one lesson that I would advise you, always listen to your gut. If your gut is telling you something is wrong, don't test yourself, oh, I'm wrong. Test yourself, oh, maybe I'm right. Maybe there is something to look into it. Your gut is always, and your intuition right, especially for women. Our intuition is phenomenal. If you sense something is not right, it's usually not.
I love that, Patty. And I'm gonna take what you said and I'm gonna move it to another place as well. A friend of mine, an older lady, she told me about, I was talking to her one day and she was telling me that, she was like, hey, Jay, this major thing happened. And I was like, what are you talking about? What happened? She said, oh, I was up in Publix, when I was on vacation. And she said, right in front of me, two people started fighting. And I was like, okay, so what happened? So she was like, yeah, they were fighting. And before you know it, there was this huge crowd, that gathered around, and everybody had kind of made a circle around the people that were fighting and stuff like that. And she was just like, it was just amazing. It was right there in the middle of Publix, and they were, knocking over some of the displays and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, well, okay, what happened after that? She said, well, after a certain amount of time, a security person came over and blah, 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 and all that kind of stuff. So after she went through her story, I told her, I said, so, how long did this thing happen? How long did it take? And she was like, oh, man, it was probably a couple of minutes, maybe, 3-7 minutes, somewhere in there, roughly 5 minutes or so. And I literally told her, I was like, and you stood there and watched it. And she was like, well, yeah. And I was like, you didn't run. You didn't get out the door. She was like, well, no. This is exactly what I'm talking about. You got two people fighting. People pull out guns and start shooting when they're fighting. You don't know these people. You cannot trust these people. Even if they don't have a gun, one of them could be trying to punch one person, miss them, and punch you. And yet, what do people do? Just kind of like what you were saying, Patty, they run to the danger instead of running away. And see, like when I see stuff like that happen, like when I was growing up in high school, because the same type of stuff happened in high school. Oh, they're going to fight. Oh, they're going to fight. I was like, well, I don't need to be that in. We had a little somebody's party. All two people mad at each other. I was like, okay, it's time to go. And people be looking at me like, man, you ain't no fun, man. You gonna miss all the. You doggone right. Because in my high school, there were several guys that had access to guns. Yeah. I seen them. I got close to them, and I remember, and a group of my friends, we got together this Monday, and that's why it's so funny that you mentioned that, because we were all talking about a situation where another one of our friends from high school, and this happened while we were in college, but he was at a party when he was like 20 years old, and one of the guys at the table was talking about he wanted to go to that party, and he was going to go to the party with that friend. So the friend's name was Scenario, and the guy that was going to go with him was named Robert. And Robert was like, man, yeah, I was supposed to go to this party with Scenario and everything. And he was like, but I'm glad I didn't go. And he was like, well, what happened? Well, what happened at that party was Scenario was standing next to this guy, and a fight broke out, and the guy next to Scenario got shot by a straight bullet. And he was like, dude, if I had went, that could have been me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And see,
can I say?
Go ahead. Go. I'm sorry.
And I think I mentioned in this group before. I'm not sure, but I will again repeat myself. I was in a toxic relationship, and within a week, I knew that when I met him. After a week, I knew exactly what was bothering me with him and what is not going to work. And I broke up with him after a week, but my aunt convinced me I was wrong. I went back. But make a long story short, I ended up being in a toxic relationship for 7 years. So if you feel something is not right, or like Jay has mentioned, you feel danger or anything of that nature, either slow down. If you are not sure, slow down, open your eyes, pay attention, even write things down what bothers you about the person, and then ask somebody who is an objective person. Don't rush into a relationship and thinking because somebody tells you nice things or they pretend they are a wonderful person. If you sense something is not right, it's usually God is sending you a message, is trying to communicate with you. Just open your eyes, slow down, because that whatever they present to you, it might not be what they are selling.
Yeah, and that's why I say I think everybody, we have to be very cautious, and keep our eyes open. I think that that's really important. No matter what the situation is. But as we're now at 1:00, just for a couple people have already dropped off. Most people know that this is the official time to drop. But if you want to stay on, we're down to keep talking for a little while. We haven't heard from a lot of people. A lot of people have been really quiet. Helen, Tina, Jenny, Angel, Natalie. I'm surprised Natalie. Portia's on here twice, and she's not saying nothing.
I've been in the chat, that's why.
Oh, okay. Well, let me see what you saying in the chat, because I don't see nothing in the chat that you saying.
Well, before, I was just listening to everybody just now.
Okay, so what do you think about all this trauma stuff, Natalie?
I would say that I appreciate everyone sharing. I just really kind of have a question. So there was a little while back where I was watching this YouTube videos, like kind of one of those social experiment type videos. And it was like a group of girls who were asking questions to a group of guys. And the group of girls were like, one particular question they asked was like, who goes to therapy? And most of the guys were like, oh, I go to therapy. Like, I need to speak to my therapist at least twice a week and whatnot. And there was this one person who said, I don't go to therapy. However, when I am going through something or, something's really on my mind or I need to relieve stress, I go on a hike, I go on walks, something like active related. And they kind of like, I don't want to say shamed, but kind of was like, oh, that's not really therapy kind of thing. So I guess that's my question to the group. Like, do you feel that the best form of therapy is seeking like professional assistance from someone to kind of get direction, or do you think it doesn't matter just as long as you're getting what you're getting?
Oh, Portia put her hand up. Awesome. Go ahead, Portia. Well, one day she might say something. Maybe she can't talk through that. Maybe that's why she has two things open. Because we can't hear you, Portia, if you're talking. Now it says connecting to audio.
Jay, I can speak while we're
Okay. Well, I think she might
Portia,
be there now.
are you
Try
there,
to get Portia real quick, and then we'll go to Lakeisha. Okay, we still can't hear you. Go ahead, Lakeisha, and hopefully you'll figure it out in a minute, Portia.
Yeah, Portia, if you can get in, just cut me off. Natalie, I've had this discussion with a lot of people, and I think that it's based on your trauma. If you have, I mean, because if you've had something traumatic, and I think that's kind of what Jay was kind of saying, if you've had something majorly traumatic in your life, by all means, you may need to get some, some real serious help. But if you haven't had anything major traumatic in your life, and when I say traumatic, I feel like when people lose people very, very close to them, they really do need grief counseling. I didn't get grief counseling when I had when my mother passed, and I think that I should have. I was just so bogged down with work and life and everything else. And I think that's the reason why I took on that bad habit of trying to fix everybody else, because I was in some type of way, it was kind of helping me also. So I do feel like when people have a very serious traumatic situation, that they should get help. And everybody has not had a traumatic situation. So, but when it comes to other things, and you can have therapy in a lot of ways. This right here, conversation that we're having together, this is therapeutic, because we're able to get out, our different things. We're able to hear different people's, perception, and just glean from each other. So I've also had where I have someone who I can talk to. Tashawn made a very good point, and I got somebody, and she's not, what I'm saying. For me, I like to talk to people who know me and who I know, because if I don't know you, I'm not going to give you the real me. And I'm just being 100% honest with you. There's a lot of people who go to therapy, and their therapists don't know the real them, because they give that, they give just enough. So I actually have somebody who knows me, or and it's so funny, because she can call me, and if I say something the right way, she'll be like, "How you doing?" I'm like, "I'm fine." She's like, "That didn't sound right." And there's been one time she's called me, and I mean, I just broke out in tears. She was like, the therapist don't know me enough to be able to recognize that my fine really isn't fine, but she knows me, and we've gone deep. So for her, she is my therapist, even though she's not a licensed therapist. I can be 100% transparent. I have told her things that I ain't told nobody else, because I feel that comfort. So for somebody to shun somebody because they haven't gone to a quote unquote therapist, you can find therapy. That's why I'm saying you can find whatever way your therapy is. For the young lady who goes out and for walks, honestly, I have been to the point where I have been so frustrated, even after. So I will go to the beach. Whenever I'm really, really frustrated, I go to the beach, because I feel like that's where I can hear God. And that gives me my complete, and it's such a sense of comfort that I get when I go to the beach. I have literally gone to the beach by myself. My family mad. I'm like, "No, y'all ain't going." I'm going by myself. And I'll just walk on the beach and talk to God and cry my tears in that ocean. And then I come back and I'll be like, I feel better, right? So so that's why I say people, I mean, I would never shun anybody because they've gone to therapy, because they haven't gone to therapy. We don't have a right to say that. But as long as I just feel like we're getting it out in some type of way, either in a friend group or whatever. But yeah, that was my part. But I see Patty, and I'm hoping that Portia's back now.
Yeah,
So
Portia, go ahead. Go ahead, Portia.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry, don't want to sound like that commercial. I just was really grateful for this time. Jay, thank you so much for the presentation. I just felt like, especially, I'm in my mid-30s, and I think about all of the ads that I see on Instagram, to the point where I had to delete it off of my phone, and I just check it, on my laptop, because I realized it affected like my spending, or like where I wanted to vacation. And so I kind of had been picking up on that for myself personally. But I never thought about the journey when it comes to like dating as well, how much we are kind of brainwashed into wanting the same type of man. You know, how many movies talk about tall, dark, and handsome as a type that is acceptable? And I just saw, not to make light of a person's marriage, but I just saw a marriage where the wife was 6 feet tall and her husband was 5'5". And that's just not something that is celebrated in our culture. You know, we're always thinking about, I want the best looking woman or I want the best looking man. And that's part of us not really focusing on the values as Christians that we should be. So I just appreciate a different perspective on our journeys and our past. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Oh, well, no, that was
And
great.
I'm sick, so that's why I'm not on camera and I've been quiet because I'm not feeling well. And I'm watching my niece who's talking to me right now.
Oh, well, I'm sorry you're sick. You know, hopefully God will bless you and heal you up real quick. Heal you up. Come on, Patty.
Just one note for Natalie. You know, you will not connect with every therapist, and it's okay to change your therapist. And also, when you're looking for a therapist, make sure they know exactly, they are familiar with what you're looking for. So, for example, if you were in a toxic relationship and you know, or you're speculating, I should say, that your ex or your husband, whoever the person was, it's just an example, I'm not talking about you, they were narcissists, you have to make sure that the person understands that topic. Whatever you are looking for, you have to find the right therapist for you for what you need. And so that's one. And number two, I wanted to say, yes, Jay, whatever you are teaching, all your presentations that I've seen, and it's been only like 2.5, maybe 3 weeks, it took me, and I'm not exaggerating, it took me 10 years to understand that, to get to that point. You covered what I know within 2 weeks. Your presentations are awesome, absolutely awesome. So whoever is listening to Jay, yes, that's the way to go. And also, I wanted to say, maybe I will speak for myself because I don't know what your past is and your childhood. My mom was very toxic and I did not get love from her. My dad was working a lot. He was a good man, but he wasn't present enough in my life. I did not know what love is. And I'm still learning and trying to understand what love is. If you do not know what love is, you will not know who is giving you love, who loves you. You will miss when somebody actually does love you and wants to offer you love. And you might confuse, like I did. I thought passion, chemistry, and maybe a lot of attention was love. That's why I fell for the wrong person. But that's very important to understand what love is and work on self-love, which I'm still trying to figure out what really self-love is. So if you have any ideas or any recommendations, or like, how can you love yourself more, please let me know, because I'm working on that more and more. And everybody talks about self-love, but nobody really tells you exactly what that is and how can you give it to yourself. I know some, but not much.
No, that was good. And thank you for that, Patty, and I appreciate it. I think Tashawn might be better to talk about self-love than me. I don't think that God has blessed me with that knowledge. And I think Tashawn wants to say something because she has unmuted. So the queen with her new crown that she got up there is needs to speak.
Thank you, Joseph. So I'll say just on the question that was asked, Patty, and really I think it ties to what Natalie's question was. The person that was talking, Natalie, about how they go on the hike and they do that's a form of self-love. That person is recognizing, this is what I need to fill my cup. This is what and what Lakeisha said about going to the beach, that's self-love. You know, listening to your own needs. We're unfortunately sometimes when we haven't been taught how to love ourselves, we're taught to ignore our needs and ignore our feelings and suppress our feelings, and in lieu of listening to the needs of other people and appeasing other people. And so we almost like we're trained to get validation and self and get love from the other person and not from looking within. And so we have to learn to listen to ourselves, even what you were saying earlier, Patty, about listening to our gut, listening to that inner voice, listening to God's, because God doesn't, he can get loud at times, but he likes to, just say something and you're like, okay, I heard you. So when he starts getting loud, that's when stuff starts breaking. But we just have to retrain ourselves to that. I think the simplest thing for me was when my kids went away, when they went and visited another family member after my husband had passed away. It was the first time they were away from me. And I literally couldn't figure out what to do with myself. And it was weird because I'd only had kids for not even 5 years, and yet I was lost. And I'm like, well, I'm almost 30 years old. Obviously, I did things with my life before I had children. And so I had to reconnect. And that's what I think you have to do with self-love, is that you have to reconnect to, what do I actually enjoy? What makes me feel good? Not what this person likes but when I'm in alone to myself, what makes me smile? What makes me feel good? What makes me feel happy? And just start practicing doing those things. And definitely the small things that we don't think about, like getting your regular checkups. And I don't like to do the male female thing, because I don't, there's a lot of boxes that we put ourselves in, but especially men, get your regular checkups. Go and get a massage. If you don't like people rubbing on you, go get your feet done, or anything that is going to make you feel taken care of, because you deserve to have a moment of just being pampered and being, kind of catered to. If it's, having a good meal that you didn't have to cook, just little things, whatever that thing is for you, or those things are for you, it's good to identify them and then to practice them on a regular basis. If you got to write them down on your calendar and make a date with yourself, okay, I'm going to do this at least once a month, just to get in the habit of remembering you over other people. And I think that that's a good, place to start with self-love. And the writing down helps you to continue to do it. Sometimes it's easy to forget, because everybody wants everything all the time. The thing that I was initially raising my hand for before Patty asked her question was just that, and I'm not going to get too much into it, because I think the way that I see the wholeness of it may be a lot different than most people. So I'm just going to say this part. Whatever it is that occurs in our lives, whether it's good or bad, the benefit of therapy is sometimes it can help us to make something good out of something that we can't possibly see the good in it. There's nothing that's outside of God's control. Even the devil, even these, spirits and principalities, they're all within God's control. So if God allows anything to happen, it's up to us to find a way to make it, to find the good in it, as in, what can you learn from it? Because whatever it is that you need to learn, God always gives us the opportunity to learn it in a positive, productive way. And sometimes we refuse to learn it. As Jay was kind of saying, we choose to make our own path. And then God is like, okay, well, easy or hard, this is a lesson you need to learn. So it's kind of like, well, when your mama would say, don't touch that because it's hot. And some of us didn't touch it because my mama said it's hot, and some of us touched it anyway. So you learn the lesson, but some people learned it from listening and some people learned it from the pain. But the point is to learn the lesson. And if you need help to learn the lesson, then that's what therapy's for. So don't shun it, but also don't, some people don't need that. Some people are very insightful and understanding of themselves and introspective. They can learn from watching other people get burnt and like, oh, I don't want to be that person. So I'm not going to go down that road. And they just don't do it. And so I think it's just important to give people the grace of getting things the way that works best for them. And if that's communing with nature, then great. If it's talking to somebody, then great. If it's having a friend, then great. But as long as, and I think it's been said a few times, you get what you need, because we're learning because we have a work to do. We have a purpose in our lives. And so some things that you can't see, you don't understand, you don't know why. And God is like, but I do know why. And this thing that they're like, I don't know what this thing is. I don't know what it fits or what it's supposed to do. And 10 years down the road, that weird thing is going to be just the right thing for that time or that moment or that season or situation. All right. Okay. So you're going to have to tell us, is it Bempe?
Hi, it's Bimpe, yes.
Okay.
I just wanted to say hi because this is my first time attending the
Welcome.
meeting. So thank you. I am about to log off, but I wanted to say before I left that I really appreciate listening to the information here. There's not that many groups where we have Christian singles trying to live for God and trying to navigate relationships in God's way. So I thought that the presentation that was shared was very helpful, and even just hearing you guys' experience and sharing of your experiences, it was very helpful to just listen. So thank you so much for what you guys are doing, and I really appreciated this time fellowship.
Thank you for coming out. We appreciate you.
Amen.
Thank you.
Come on, Natalie.
So I appreciate everyone's responses and perspectives. Definitely brought some clarity. So kind of bringing up something that kind of Tim and Patty touched on. They were mentioning like before, like in terms of like therapists, and I think Tim was saying like I forget the term again, but not a Christian based one. So I guess my question is like, because I have been to therapy before and I've had non-Christian based therapists as well as a Christian based therapist. I honestly felt, okay, this is kind of what Patty was just touching on, like, oh, you might find a therapist and the first one that you might meet or the second one you might meet may not be that right one. And I have found that at least for the non-Christian therapists, like honestly, they were kind of like less just mental, and that was surprising to me, than the Christian-based one that I had. But then also too, I've only had females, and I'm thinking like maybe this time around that when I would go back to therapy, I would want a male's perspective. So like, how do you guys go through figuring out which therapist is the best for you, and does it really matter if they're Christian based or not?
Well, I hate to keep talking, but I just started therapy again. I guess this is my second week, and I went through that same process, Natalie, of like, okay, what do I want to, who do I want? Do I want them to be Christian? All the things you listed. And what I've really focused in on was what they specialized in and how long they had kind of been practicing. I did lean towards a female therapist. My first therapist was a male therapist, but I didn't select them. That was when I was a kid. And I think he was good. I shied away from a male therapist this time because for some reason at this point in my life, I'm feeling very boxed in by my interactions with people of that they're assuming a lot of things about me because I'm a woman. And I just didn't want to traverse that whole situation to get to the meat of the therapy. That's an assumption. Didn't necessarily mean it was going to happen, but I just didn't feel like I was in a place to deal with it. In part because of why I'm going to therapy. but I think it's really, as Patty was saying earlier, You have to, kind of go with your gut, and maybe sometimes you have to, in some ways, interview them, like talk to them and see how you're feeling and pray about it, and then you say, yeah, you might change a few times before you really land on a person. I have another friend who has gone through a few changes as far as they really know they need to go to therapy, but I'm not clear on why they're very anxious about going to therapy. But it's been a big struggle for them, just lack of trust, all kinds of things. And so I don't think you should really put too much pressure on yourself about the process, as much as if in your initial meeting with them you feel comfortable, then you're probably on the right track. But if you don't, if you are feeling more anxious once you start talking to them, it's probably not good. But I I look at, just, before I talk to anybody, I look at what they actually are trained in, and I know the things that I'm dealing with, from my past and from current, and then I kind of gauge based on that. And I see, Patty, you have your hand up as well, so I know you have some thoughts.
I was going to say what you said. Go with your gut, that's number one. And also have some questions prepared when you go for the very first time. Like Tashan said, it's a form of an interview. And if they don't click with you, or you don't connect, I should say, don't feel bad about it. It's your health, it's you pay for it, or insurance, however it is. You can always change your therapist. And also, a lot of therapists have reviews online. So I would recommend to find him or her and read the reviews. And as Tashan said, you have to be very specific what you are looking for, meaning, there are doctors, there are specialists. There is a surgeon, there is a heart doctor, there is optometrist, ophthalmologist. The same with different traumas or whatever your issue is. Think about it like this also. There are so many people who are teachers and they have a lot of knowledge, but not every teacher is a good teacher. Not every teacher can deliver. The same with the therapist. They might be very smart, very educated. They might have a lot of knowledge, but that doesn't mean they will connect with you. They might connect with somebody else, but that doesn't mean they will connect with you. And that's okay. So, yeah.
That's great, Patty. And I'm glad you brought up about the research, because it's such a secondhand thing to me. I just don't even think about it anymore. But yeah, I check reviews on everybody and everything that I buy, every service. I'm like, let me see what people said, because you can never be too cautious, especially when it comes to your health, whether it's mental or physical. So learn from other people, what to be cognizant of, for sure.
And if I may add very quickly, also try to look for empathy, compassion. Is that person compassionate, empathic? Are they going to care about me? Sadly, I have to say, some people do whatever they do for money, not because they care. So you want to find somebody who is more compassionate, have some empathy, and they are trying to actually help you, not just get a paycheck.
Hey, Tim.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I don't want to say that therapist I saw was bad, but I did end up about 2 years ago seeing another therapist. But I looked into the different therapists that they had, and this place, Var Health Alliance, said we've got 10 therapists, but from what you're saying, 2 of these therapists are Christian therapists, and the other ones are regular therapists, and they're all excellent. But it seems to me like you want to lean toward the Christian. And I said, yeah. He said, wow, these 2 Christian therapists are booked up to the max. Everybody wants to see them. I'm like, wow, really? So he said, well, I'll fit you in. And I did go in there, and it was just, to me, the guy said, I'm not perfect. I don't have all the answers. I'm not going to quote scripture all day to you, but I'm trying to look at things with you from God's point of view the best I can. So I said, okay, so don't expect me to stop every 2 minutes and say, well, that's in Ruth, or that's in Proverbs, or that's in Mark. I'm not doing that, but I'm going to use concepts that we both know from the Bible to help you out. And he said, you know what's right and what isn't. But he was so helpful to me because I'd say something, he'd say, well, not to sound trite, but you know that's not right, right? I said, yeah. He said, so you kind of can answer your own question on that one. So let's work on this problem. Where the other psychiatrist, he was good, but he was more like, it's all about you. All that matters is you. You got to make Tim Thomas happy. I said, well, it's not all about me. I don't know about that because I have friends and other people I care about, and it's about them too. So it was almost like, do whatever it takes to make you happy, but I don't think that's totally right. So I agree, doing research on the person and trying to figure out what their specialty is. I totally agree with that. The other thing I'm going to throw in real quick, I know we got probably running out of time, but I have a friend that talked to me and said that she just got out of a terrible, terrible relationship. But she said, I want you to know something that's really freaky and weird, but I want you to know what's going on. I said, yeah, well, whatever. She said, there's an adult in me here. That's the adult person. And then there's a little child over here. That's the child. I said, okay. So the child's saying, but I love him. He's fun. He's adventurous. He's exciting. He feeds what I'm looking for. And then the adult taps me on the shoulder and says, no. You know this guy's bad. I mean, you know that. So what in the world are you doing? Stop. And then the little kid says, no, but I like it. You only live once. I want to go for the gusto. And you're ruining my fun. And then the other part says, stop. I said, wow. I said, I can understand that. She said, yeah. So I'm like, but can I give it one more try? Or let me forgive him and just give him one more try. And the adult says, stop. So she finally said, okay, you win. The adult kind of came alongside me and said, you got to stop this. No, come on. Just straighten out and just, realize what you're doing and let's get your act together. But she said there were two sides to me, that little kid that wants to have fun. And then the adult is saying it, stop. I just thought that was interesting about the two paths because the little kid, he wants what he or she wants what she wants. I don't care what happens. I want to live on the ragged edge. Life's too short. I want to have fun. But then the other part says, stop. I just thought I mentioned that.
I love that, Tim. I mean, I think that lines up really great. I'm sorry, Trishana, I didn't mean to break you.
No.
But I did also want to just bring up the whole thing with the, because you had talked about the, different therapists. And the first, therapist that wasn't Christian is talking about, oh, you have to do things that work for you. And I think that's dangerous. And again, that's very worldly. That's that worldly concept of love you, protect you. And like I say, they push advertisement on that daily. A lot of it is being pushed to women these days about trying to, you be you and all this other kind of stuff. But what we really see is that we have to line ourselves up with God and we have to be who God wants us to be. And I think the hardest part about it, and I'm not even going to lie, I fall into this trap myself, is that we don't trust God. We don't trust God with knowing what's best for us. We see somebody we want to date, we see something we want to do, we see an opportunity, and then we jump on it. And then God is saying no. Sometimes it's in the Bible. Like I said, it'll literally be like, don't do that. And then we jump on it anyway. And then, it ends up coming back to bite us in the butt. And I think it's really important, especially in a world that we have right now. Like I give you one thing, and I know this might totally change the direction of the conversation, but I do think it's really interesting. And I mean no offense, but I hope that people can see my heart and where I'm coming from. Right now, there's a huge push, as we know, especially in the States, for those of us that are in the States, that is really trying to overly push women's empowerment. And while I'm not against women being empowered, I'm all for them to be empowered. To Sean's here, I've flirted at the point of Patty becoming an organizer. Lakeisha is an organizer. I have a spiritual mom who looks out for Christian Singles Connect. So I am all about women, and I love some women. But one of the things that they're trying to do is that as they're doing this and they're encouraging this, I've run into a lot of situations where they're really trying to push down men. It's not that they're trying to bring up women and say, okay, let's be equal in the sight of God, which is what Jesus was really pushing, because we can see that in the New Testament, where Jesus talked to women just as much as he talked to men. But what we're seeing is they're saying, okay, well, let's make this shift. Let's bring women up and let's push men down. And one of the things is they're doing this is that they're really alluring a lot of women with money. And so as more and more people are going after this money, there is a destruction that's happening at the same time of the family. And if you give money to kids that don't have sense, you end up with a worse situation than you had before. And it's amazing to me that people are watching this happening and they're all on board with this happening. And through that, they don't understand that you have an enemy that understands that the fundamental, literally, the little foundation of our society is family. And true riches are family. And, I think it was Abraham that said, God, you've given me all this money, you've given me all these possessions, but I don't have an heir, to give it to. Because at the end of the day, all that money doesn't mean anything. And even if you give it to somebody who is crazy, they're going to be 10 times crazier. If you want to see people who kill themselves, I think they were talking about how most people that win the lottery in the United States, I think 97% of them are in a worse situation 3 years later after they've won the lottery than they were before. Mm-hmm. So money just makes it worse if you've not put the foundation in the first place. So again, and that's why I try to encourage people to understand that when all these ideas are hitting the marketplace, they're coming from a place. They're coming from strategic enemies. And like I said, I didn't believe these people exist. I did not believe these energies existed in the world. I was like, man, that's some bull garbage. Ain't no demons watching over me. This ain't happening. This ain't happening. No, they are. People love to say, oh, there's 5 families that control the world. We all have that, superstition people talk about. I guarantee you there's, like I say, there is literally a round table of demons. It's like, okay, our strategy for this Christmas, we're going to push this. In 2024, we're going to push this. In 2025, we're going to push this. We can see that Florida is making this mistake. Georgia's making this mistake. We're going to push this on them. We already got New York. We don't have to worry about them. Let's go push this thing over here. And anything that is trying to say that humans should not work together, that humans should not love each other, that you can do bad by yourself, that it's all about you, all of that is of the enemy. All of that is of the enemy, because every breath you take is a gift from God. So that's all I wanted to say on that. Go ahead, Tashawn. I'm sorry.
Oh no, that's good. Was just when you were speaking, Tim, it just reminded me of when I was a kid. and when you're in high school, everybody's kind of trying things out and they're experiencing things. And I'm one of those weird people that, like Jay was talking about, how marketing pushes things. If I see something too much, I automatically don't want it, because I feel, Jay will tell you, we're 8s or whatever. The control thing is so strong in me of not being controlled by things. If I don't even listen to the radio, because I know that they're paid to play certain songs all the time. And, just different things like that. When I was growing up, I wouldn't leave the radio or the TV on at night when I go to sleep, because I don't want anything in my subconscious. I'm all of that. So, So when I had, like we would be at school on a Monday and they would be laughing and talking about how drunk I was, so drunk and I was so high and all of this stuff. And I just asked the simple question of, why is that fun? Like, you're talking about, how, things that normally we would not think are fun, like how you threw up, or how, you hurt yourself, or you fell or did this. And, I was so drunk, I fell out the car, and it's funny and it's fun. And it's like, why is that fun though? And so I think sometimes we get so caught up in the things that we think are a good time because we were told it's a good time, or because we want to say that it was, fun, or maybe it was just a reprieve from whatever we're trying to escape from, that we convince ourselves that it was fun. But if you really look back at the wholeness of it, even with the relationship stuff, where we look back at the good parts of the relationship and not the part where we fell on our face, then we can convince ourselves that, yeah, it was really fun. But in truth, it's not, the whole thing wasn't fun. It wasn't a good time. It wasn't great. And so then that goes back to, even almost back to what Patty was talking about self-care. What really is fun to you? Like, not what the world says is fun, not what should be fun, but in truth, what really is fun? What really does, after it's over with, you don't feel dirty, you don't feel bad, you don't have to apologize to people, but you can actually remember all of it fondly, and not just the parts that you choose to because the other parts are too painful. And looking at the way that the world is changing and becoming very self-centered and focused, as Joseph was just talking about, I mean, I think you're on point. Unfortunately, we live in a world where we teach people that in order to live, in order to take care of the people you care about, you have to have money, because you need to be able to eat well and have good health care, and live in a better circumstance. And so much of just being able to live to make a better choice tomorrow has everything to do with money. And if we were able to come together and band together like we did when we had so little, then we wouldn't need money as much. But it's a difficult position to be in, especially as women who are expected to function in this world as men when we're not built to be that, and still take care of our business, take care of our families, take care of ourselves. It's a difficult balance. And I think it just requires us to keep what you were saying, Joseph, in mind about what's really important, but also to recognize that they're not simple choices or decisions. It is a lot of responsibility and weight, and that was torment for me as a young mother, trying to do a father and a mother's job, was trying to make sure that we have food every day and all of these different things. It's a lot of pressure, it's a lot of stress. And so when you get something, it's hard to say it's not important, because it was so important when you had to look at your kids and say, I want to do better by them. But that's what fellowship is for, to remind us of what's important. So I appreciate all of you all.
Oh, thank you, Sashawn. I know Patty has something she wanted to say.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Patty.
I just wanted to say quickly, I know we are running out of time a long time ago. Again, I didn't have the right family structure. My mom was abusive. I've never experienced true love. And I was desperately trying to fix myself. So I joined a lot of groups, sport groups on Facebook. And any person will tell you who was in a similar but different situation that I was when it comes to growing up, childhood, either abusive environment or just didn't have the right environment. They will tell you, even they are successful right now, they will tell you the one thing that they wish they had, the right family structure, where they would feel love and care, and they would learn the right way to be in a relationship. And I have to say the same thing.
Oh, thank you, Patty. And bye, Ty. I know you're about to head out because your laptop is about to die. But yeah, I mean, family, it just means so much for all those again that are new. If you have not, like Patty, I know you're new, and Helen is a little new. So if you guys want to go check out, like I said, on the YouTube channel, if you haven't already subscribed, I definitely encourage you to. But there's something out there, and it talks about real generational wealth. And that's when we actually talked about, I just spoiled it for you a little bit. It's talking about children. See, one thing I've learned about God is that God to give you money like this. It really is not a big thing. In fact, I thought about doing some presentations on money because God has shown me a lot of things. And what's interesting about what God has shown me recently about money, just to do this quick aside, is that when I was younger, I'd seen a lot of the, and, Lakeisha's heard this before because our pastor talks about it, where you basically claim it and then you get the money. Like, you tithe and then, the money pops up, and there's a lot of pastors that will preach that. And a lot of pastors, what they're saying, though, is right, but their motivation is wrong. And what God had to show me, and it took me almost 20 years to kind of understand it, is that what God is looking for in order to shower you with money is he's looking toward your heart posture. If your heart posture is about the money, is about the things you can get with the money, is about if I tithe, God, you're going to give me money. See, that is the wrong mindset. And if you tithe with that mindset, and if you offer with that mindset, and if you do anything with that mindset, so you're basically within a mindset of saying, I am going to do something to get something from God. If you do it with that mindset, you will not get money. God will not bless you with money. You will continue to be broke. I don't give a flip if you're tithing 50% of your money. God is not going to bless your money. And that was one of the things that I had to really get, because I was listening to, a lot of the pastors here and a lot of pastors all over the world, and they're saying these things, but what they did not focus on is your heart posture. But one of the things that God has shown me over the last couple of years is that the most important treasure that God can give you is children and a family and people to love. Those are the things God cares about. Those are the things that matter to him. Remember, the whole world is full of things. God can easily manipulate these things and move them to you. It is really, really easy. And the reason why am I bringing this up? Why am I talking about this? Well, I'm talking about it because I want people to kind of understand that the way God really works, and people think God, and that's why I say we don't trust God. And then we get caught up in our greed. And then we're not really looking at what the word is trying to teach us about God and who he is as, I don't want to call him a person, but as a personality. But unlike us, God can see in you. He can see through you. You can't hide anything. So God looks straight into your soul and he can see every little behind the corner deed. Like if you think, oh, God bless me, I'm going to go buy that Lexus. Or God bless me, I'm about to go buy this Range Rover. God sees that. Versus the person that's saying, God, if you bless me with $100,000, honestly, I'm just going to give like $90,000 to this charity. I don't even need that money. Do whatever you want to with it. I don't care, God, if you give it to me. I don't care if you don't give it to me. And that's the person that gets the money. Because that's the person that God is like, oh, they want nothing for their heart. They want nothing out of their own energy. They want nothing that's saying, oh, this is about me. And that's why you have to really watch people when they're talking about you. And that's why I say it's a trust issue, because when we trust God and we start to do things for God, then we know in the back of our mind, God loves us. And because he loves us, he's going to bless us. But we can't buy the blessing. We can't force the blessing. We can't have the blessing in the back of our mind. Does that make sense to everybody? You can't have it in the back of your mind and think you're going to trick God. Instead, you have to change your heart posture. So it's like for instance, I'm just going to be real with you guys. One of the things that I told God was simple. I told him, I said, God, I recognized I didn't know what love is. So I told him, I said, if you bless me with another wife, a second wife, or even take me back to my first wife, whatever brings you the most glory, I am going to love the way you say love is. That love is a contract. That love is intentional. That love is beyond emotion. I have told, God, that I plan to be very, like, even if he takes me back to my ex-wife, and like I said, I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen, but I said, even if I go back, I want to begin the love with her exactly how you would believe you would begin it with me. I.e., when you sit before Jesus, Jesus is not sitting there like, okay, what you did yesterday, let's start there. And you did this and this and this. And okay, 2 days ago, you offended me with this and this and this. No, God says that he throws everything as far as the east is to the west. So it means that when you're sitting down with the person that you're loving, you're not supposed to be bringing up all these years of pain and suffering and frustration. You're supposed to let it go. It doesn't mean you have to forget it. Okay, we're not saying put yourself into danger. But what God is trying to get in us is that forgiveness factor. And what I'm hoping people understand through CSC is that your heart posture, if you really want God to send you somebody, your heart posture needs to be that, God, I have given my life to you, and whoever you send to me, I am willing to give my life to them. I'm not going to try to hold anything back. I am not going to be worried about this, that, and the third. I am going to give them my all. Because marriage is for givers, people who want to give their life away. And as Jesus says, those who give their life away are the ones who find it. But those who try to hold on to their lives are the ones who lose it. So it's just really important, I think, that we recognize that. So we really didn't have a big rush to get off, but I know some of us are trying to get in Atlanta, trying to get out to this 6 o'clock event. And I know for me, I got to run to a couple of stores, and I got to go to Macy's and take back this absolutely horrible comforter. Just letting y'all know, these comforters these days, they're not putting cotton or down in them anymore. They got some kind of synthetic material. And so not all of them, but at least the one I got, when I washed it, it basically turned into clumpy mess. So it's only been 2 weeks, so I'm going to take that comforter back and get me a new one. Yes, Natalie, it did do that. So you have to be careful with some of this stuff, because people are cheap and companies are cheap, and they're trying to save every dime they can. So just letting y'all know. But thank y'all for coming now. Anybody want to say anything before we shut it off?
Yeah, just real quick. The self-care, like loving yourself. I took a class on that, and it's a bunch of little things like taking a hot bath, lighting candles, playing music, taking walks, exercising, even looking in the mirror and saying, it's been a hell of a day, but you know what? I got this. I've got this. I'm okay. I'm all right. I got this. Or Lord, you're with me on this. I'm going out that door. I'm going to do this. Just all these little things, and just not saying, oh, you're so stupid. How could you made that mistake? But rather, well, I did make this mistake, but you know, it's okay because it's behind me now. Maybe I've learned something from it. It's all about like just loving yourself and not beating yourself in the head. I've done enough of that in my life. I just want to mention you got to say, man, I'm going to make it. I've got this. I'm not going to let the devil beat me because I've got this. I've got it. Thank you, Lord. I've been doing that for the past couple of years. You know, I find that like, you know, you feel so defeated sometimes. You're like, I just don't know if I can go another day. But you gotta, yes, I got this. The Lord, I'm the head, not the tail. The
There you
Lord
go.
says. So I'm gonna strive forward. I got this. It's just such a powerful difference.
I just want to, it's Alda here. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. So I just want to follow up on what Tim said, that, yeah, it's so important that we don't beat up on ourselves, because for sure we'll all make mistakes, but we really need to learn to forgive ourselves and to love ourselves in a healthy way. And I think if we do take care of ourselves and love ourselves in a healthy way, then we will be healthy enough to be able to love others and give back to others. But if we're so hard on ourselves, then we will tend to be hard on other people as well. So it's just so important that we exercise that self-love, allow God to show us different ways in which we could love ourselves and be good to ourselves and take care of ourselves so that we are healthy and we're able to give a healthy self to other people. And one thing I had put in the chat, which was kind of like a joke, was I said I do dessert therapy because stress spelled backwards is desserts. So in order to decrease my stress, I just increase my desserts, which is kind of like a joke, but it's kind of fun to think of that. But yeah, self-love is very, very important.
Yeah,
And
I would
thank you
love to.
so much. Thank you so much, Jay, for all the teaching.
Oh no, I appreciate it. And remember, we have other teachers as well. Like I say, Tashawn teaches a lot, and we have other people that pop in from time to time as well. It's just whatever God leads us to talk about. And like I said, we're trying to encourage Patty to do some stuff too. We're gonna get her sooner or later. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Patty. You wanted to say something? I saw you unmuted.
Well, I don't have enough knowledge about things, so as I said, maybe one day I can prepare something about narcissism to help people understand what happened and stuff like that. But besides that, I don't think I have enough knowledge to be an organizer.
But the thing about it is, I'm gonna tell you, I don't have enough knowledge. You know, people give me a lot of credit where it's not really due. Once you start to line up with, me just being real, I hate to sound spiritual, but once you line up with the Holy Spirit takes over. And you get to the point where you're walking, and then the Holy Spirit is like, this passage and this passage and this passage, and I want you to think about this, and I want you to think about that, and you're almost like, hot dog, will you get out of my head already? But that's just is what it is. And I know with Tashawn, she talks about how, some of her presentations, it would take her a week of research, a lot of things that goes through. It's not like we're sitting down for an hour and then popping one of these bad boys out. This is generally something that we're walking around, and then all of a sudden the Holy Spirit's like, woof, I want you to talk about this. And then all of a sudden these ideas come, and then they don't shut off. And so it's like the only way to get them out is to start writing them down and to really get through. And I even have times when I walk away from a presentation and the Holy Spirit's like, well, you could have talked about this, and you could have added this, and you could have added that. And it's like, oh man. So go ahead, I'm sorry.
In this case, give me some time. I'll maybe come up with something, and then I will let you know. Or Donna, I don't know who is in charge of.
Yeah, you can talk to Donna. Donna
Yes.
is the better one to talk to.
Yeah, give me some time. Maybe something will come.
No worries. We might pull some other people in, like and Shane's been hanging around with us for a long time. She's trying to be all quiet, not showing her picture down there in the islands, but we might get her to one of these days. But anyway, Alda, did you want to say something real quick before we let go? I saw you unmuted.
Yeah, I unmuted because as I was listening to Patty, my first thought was, my goodness, she shared so much already that was so insightful. And yet,
thank you.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my goodness, she's already teaching so much. Yeah, so I really appreciate what you shared, and to Sean and Lakeisha and Jay. It was like I was so attentive to everything. I'm like, wow. Yeah, you guys really shared a lot and it was very helpful. So I thank you so much.
And we thank you. And like I said, I mean, God moves through everybody. You know, He's put something on all of our hearts. Doesn't mean that we're going to pick on you or, pull you out, but it just means that you should never say what's not going to happen. If you had talked to the even 35-year-old me and told me that I'd be here right now, I would have told you was full of garbage. I would say, I'm a filmmaker. I'm working on my movies. Leave me alone. So that's that. But anyway, I'm going to let everybody go. We're right at 2:00, so it works really well. Bye-bye, everybody, and have a good week. I'll see you later.